Thanks very much, Paul. So I invite now Fabian, please.
Hello. That's working. Exactly. Thank you for still being here. I know it's late, but let's go through this Biorefineries presentation. We started this project 6 years ago within the IEA Bioenergy, and we did basically the results for the IEA Bioenergy. But before I started this project in 2018, my life changed completely. I got married, and the only numbers I wanted to remember is 95% of the reasons I got married was because it was pure love, and the other 5% I will not disclose here, but it was definitely not for money. Like, neither her nor me, we were not marrying for money. But 6 years down the road now, I must confess, I see that the efficiency of our spendings, like together, is actually much better. Like as a couple, you spend less for a person, right? So you have a community and you spend less on food and fuel and whatsoever. But the second very important factor is also that we have each other's back. So in the end, if one of us goes into carence or any timeout, the other one can actually chip in and finance the other, right? So the second really important part here I want to remember is that we are actually financially more resilient now. It's about reliability, resilience, and having a stronger finance together. These are two very distinct factors which we did not consider when we married, but I think that's something we can consider when we are marrying different sectors like material, food, energy sectors in the biorefinery. And that's what this presentation is about, and no more numbers. So the pre-study, the first study we did, we published in this beautiful journal article, which I recommend everybody to read, of course, where we figured out that there is actually something about the biorefinery or bioeconomy, that was the topic back then, the bioeconomy in general, which is quite interesting. It connects these different networks with each other. It connects storages, networks for fresh biomass, for energy commodities. It connects, it marries, so to say, the hydrogen grid together with the CO2 grid, and so on. So we asked ourselves the question, what is exactly the added value of this marriage, of this integration? What's the added value of system integration here in general? We also have this journal article collection here, and any scientist in the room, if you consider publishing, we still have 2 spots in this collection. And if you write that you're coming from the conference here right now, got inspired, of course, you have it quite easy. So what we did for system integration, we got a bit technical and thought about, okay, what's now really the added value of system integration? It was a word dropped today by Keith already, others, like it's about, there is something in this biorefinery integration concept. We have to think about integration itself, first of all. And here is an easy definition, in my opinion. The process of combining at least 2 elements to form a whole. And what you do in ISO standards, when you define something, you have these notes which go deeper into detail. Note 1, the elements can be resources, infrastructure, technological components, and processes and whatsoever. And they can be intangible, like something you cannot grab by your hand, right? They can be intangible, also like social structures and relations and so on. And very important, note 3, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. The synergies are, on the first hand, the ability to exchange resources or to improve the resource flow efficiency. So that's where we have lower spendings, right? And second, equally important is that the synergies, co-benefits, or however you want to call them, is also this improved resilience of the individual elements within this community, or within this integrated system. Then the last 3 years I spent at TU Wien at a very process engineering focused department, and me myself being a systems engineer, we had to follow up with the question if this is actually something we can translate into processes, this finding. And here we found different concepts which are listed down here. which are all having something to do with this system integration aspects, even though they have different wordings, different disciplinary jargons, different types of language used for describing this integration aspects. And even energy communities are, in my opinion, some system integration concept, but also sector coupling, which is very strong right now in the whole electricity sector, where it's all about flexibilization through system integration, but also process intensification in industrial operations. And all of these, I would say, are interesting for system integration and thinking about this definition here. This I will jump. Okay, now let's go a bit more in detail with these two elements of added value for system integration. The first 50% value of system integration, as I said, is all about efficiency. You become more efficient. But if you only consider the energy value or the energy flow of your biorefinery, you might not see the full picture and don't see how much more efficient you actually got. What you have to do is you extend your resource scope. You have to think about all the different tangible and intangible resources. Look at all their flows, see how the structures of your material are kind of kept safe, and you can still do something with the structure of the fibers, for example, the lignin, but then there's also a collection of other resources listed here. And we went through different case studies in this collaboration to work this actually out, and so okay, that's a good approach that extend our scope of different types of resources to see this efficiency for different resource flows. But then, again, the second side of this coin, the second 50% value of the system integration, is this whole probabilistic effect of resilience and reliability. And it was really tough to get our heads around it and to figure out how we can actually quantify and approach and simulate and model that. But first of all, we had to figure out what do we make our systems more robust against. And here is a little collection of different types of uncertainties. You can think about uncertainties coming from the atmosphere, from temperature fluctuations, but also in the biosphere. If we talked about today about forest fires, for example, you also have uncertainties in the geosphere with earthquakes and whatsoever. In the technosphere, more and more, it's about safety and security. Again, different types of word, but it's a similar concept. Sociosphere, of course, and very little is done on the cybersphere, so we, of course, have uncertainties in connecting, in having more digitalized supply chains, for example. There's different uncertainty types. I now said a lot about extreme events, but there's also uncertainty in the trends and the variabilities and cascading effects. Super interesting scientifically. Please, I can talk to me for the next hours. There's a lot to talk about here. But for the sake of the time, we then went into defining another word. We defined flexibility. Like this flexibility coming out of a more integrated system is actually something we're looking for right now, especially in the IEA Bioenergy Task 44 in the next triennium. That's part of the IEA Bioenergy, where we look exactly into this part. And here we say you can actually flexibilize your system. You can be flexible by shifting resources. Like remember my wipes and my budget, where we shift resources with each other. You can shift these resources through time, through space, between domains, and between options. And this is the full picture of flexibility. I'm not going into the situation that this is actually a neutral definition, that it can have beneficial but also detrimental consequences. But you can expect much more from the IEA Bioenergy Task 44 and that next triennium, next 3 years of work. And now, to lighten up the room a bit more, can we find a common framework which is like simple and quick to address, which combines all of these two different elements of system integration? And for that, what we looked now, actually not first, actually quite late, we looked into the most integrated system we know. And the most integrated system we know is the biosphere, is ecology, is ecosystems. And here the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, they looked for a long time on ecosystem services, as you see in their names. But now they're shifting the focus to nature's contribution to people. And here they talk about these elements which are addressed in the last slides, actually. We talk about the material contributions, which is for energy, food, feed, and so on, and whatsoever. The non-material contributions, which is about the socio-economic, social impacts. And especially the last point, the regulating impacts of these ecosystems. They can regulate your system, can moderate when you have certain hazards coming up. If you have flood control, this is the most important right now. You actually regulate against flooding and also dry events. This flood control is most likely better if it's bio-based. And now the question is, can we biomimic this concept to our biorefinery discussion here? And we believe we can. So we have these material contributions for bioenergy being used for food, materials, and other provisioning systems. The biorefinery providing also fertilizers and medicine and whatsoever, but especially also, second point, non-material contributions, the socioeconomic benefits. Maintenance of option means that you can actually reuse old infrastructure, which is already there. And then especially, again, the last point here, the balancing. We don't say regulating because that's kind of the word's already taken, but like this balancing part of biorefinery for technological recycling, wastewater treatment, carbon sequestration, and especially this flexible operation and storage of any type of resource. And the last two slides I would ask for other IEA Bioenergy colleagues to look up, because this is already the work program for the next 3 years of all the other tasks, and we see in their work packages description a lot of good links to talk about system integration and bring it together in a joint findings. So just for a second, if I have to take home messages here, measure, when you look in your biorefinery, measure the degree of integration. Think about how well is your system actually integrated? How much more is it integrated than other systems, which are maybe much more simple, less complex, and maybe even much more interesting for the regular policymaker or anybody who is not too prone for complexity. So be proud of your complexity, think about its integration aspects, think about how integrated your system actually is, think about how you can measure it, include a broader set of resource efficiency indicators, not only energy, but also all different types of energy, of resources, tangible and intangible, and please include indicators and try to understand how it actually creates this resilience and robustness and reliability of your individual systems. And we can also clearly see that if you do comparisons, which are quite often used in science, if you do techno-economic comparisons between photovoltaic and synthetic and other specialized processes with this complex biorefinery and bioeconomy processes, you most likely will fall short with your biorefinery or bioeconomy if you do not consider these 3 points here above. And that's what is most often done nowadays. The circular bioeconomy and biorefineries should be designed to amplify nature's beneficial contributions, so we can actually tap into this already existing biodiversity framework. Now being on this conference here in Brazil makes it quite clear to me that it's not something which is new to many of you maybe. So we heard today about the indigenous bioeconomy. That's exactly what they're doing, I guess. We can learn about from here, being more organic, being more nature focused. Look out for commonalities. Yeah, to my IEA colleagues from the other tasks, let's look out for commonalities and see what we can do together based on this system integration discussion. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Fabian.